Take a Ride podcast. I'm your host here, Starks. You can find me on my Twitter handle. It's at Starks_industry. You can also find me on Instagram, One Closing Hero. I'm not here alone this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the fantasy world. I have LT the Sage running the wing at the 3 spot. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good. I don't know if we got any other nerds or geeks out there, but I got a Star Wars movie I gotta watch late tonight. So rep for the Star Wars peeps out there.
Ooh, you know what's funny is I know listeners will probably get mad at me as well. Is I've only seen like 1.5 type of Star Wars movies. I probably need to get into that. Have you watched the series, or are you going to get bashed?
Nah, I've seen all of them. This is my. I've seen all the. I got caught on it. My mom, you know my mom. She's got me on it early. That and Star Trek. So I've watched all of them, and we got the trilogy, the Luke Skywalker series is over, so this is the last episode, so I gotta watch it, right?
Oh, good. Well, at least the fans will at least accept it for you to, like them, because if we both would have not liked, or not, I wouldn't say like them, but if we both didn't watch them, then it would be a problem for people. So yeah. I'm glad at least one of them, one of us does. So this episode, I want to, touch up on this Toronto news with all of these injuries and who the potential pickups can be. This is really important, even in a dynasty format. But before we do that, you guys make sure you check out newlifefantasy.com. Join the mailing list, join the forums. That way, when you do that, we have a listener league that's running. I made some updates to the website in particular. Jacob just dropped an early Christmas article that you guys need to check out. As well as make sure you go on the YouTube channel, sub-zero that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that bell. It's dinner time. Comment below. Give us a thumbs up. That article that Jacob put together is really nice. And so get your Christmas blood flowing and some nice things behind the work that he's been putting in for the site. Definitely helping us out. And at the same time, subscribe to the podcast. If you haven't already, let your friends know. So with that being said, I'm ready to take people on for a ride. So straight into it. It's going to be more of a shorter episode. I always say that, but somehow we're always an hour long. But I really, truly believe here, LT, it's going to be a shorter episode. Yeah. So Toronto, we'll just straight jump into it. I'll pass you the ball there. Actually, I'm sorry, man. I was ready to take that ball. Go ahead and run that off.
Oh, you're good, man. Hey, man. I always like the point guard to take it up the court, man. No problems. I got Pascal Siakam is the first player I wanted to talk about here. Everyone knows that's my guy. And unfortunately, he is out with a groin injury. He's out indefinitely. I did not catch on Siakam's injury earlier, so I'm actually very, unfortunately, surprised about this one. I know Marc Gasol and Norman Powell got hurt. But Pascal going down, that's a main cog in the offense of Toronto. He's been on fire this year, been putting up great stats, and especially for fantasy league teams. So I'm really upset about that. But unfortunately, there's a couple of players here, Starks, that I'm actually going to suggest people maybe go out and pick up. One of the first people I'm going to talk about is Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. And I know, Starks, I know you was gonna laugh at that, but Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, he's kind of like, he has that build, that Siakam build. He's tall, he's lanky, he can get the job done. Now his offensive game is not as it's not as hard pressed, but he is one of those players in your fantasy league that's probably available on the waiver wire. If they're out for multiple games and weeks, I like the production he brings. I know Starks will have a couple of other, Dynasty dandies in there.
Well, I was just going to say, so are you trying to say if you take off Pascal Siakam's mask, it's RHJ? Is that what you're saying?
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm kidding.
Not at all. Yeah, I mean, no, the mask. There's no mask on Rondae at all. He's not. Rondae is Rondae. He's just who he is. Yeah, I just think in production wise, in a deep format specifically, you can't do any better than Rondae for the next week or so, 2 weeks, as we figure out these injury situations. And Starks, I'm gonna pass the rock over to you. I know there's a dynasty darling on this squad that you want to talk about.
Yes, I'm the water boy, Chris Boucher, Bobby Boucher. He is the pickup here in this situation. Now, to be honest with you, LT, I automatically thought about your boy RSJ, but
Mm.
what kind of made me think a little bit differently, because I mean, Chris Boucher was second on my list, but
Yeah.
it changed immediately because I forgot. Guess who else is out?
Who else is out?
It's like Marc Gasol. Like I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
out indefinitely too. Like,
Marc Gasol. Yeah. Marc Gasol's out indefinitely as well. Yeah, man. They all got injured like in the same game. It's crazy.
exactly. And then like Norman Powell out
Yeah,
indefinitely
he
too.
got.
So like this, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, Norman Powell got hurt early in that game. Serge Ibaka is another pickup. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, he's probably picked
yeah,
up in most leagues already though. So, but if he's
yeah.
available in like maybe a shallower format, he's gonna get a bunch of minutes coming up here.
And right, and actually, Ibaka, to be honest with you, LT, if in the shallow leagues, he would actually be the immediate pickup first. He should be the priority over even the guy that I love, and Chris Boucher in that sense. But to be honest with you, them Boucher, them per 36 minutes stats that he can provide, you give this man 20 plus minutes, he's gonna really do well in fantasy for those that love those potential high ceiling upside guys, and he's one of them. I think it's safe to say that he's going to get minutes, especially with all these injuries happening. And you know what's crazy? Going on this ISO real quick as well. Actually, before I go on the ISO, I want to also talk about a potential pickup, which is going to feel kind of gross on the inside. You can probably even also consider Patrick McCall too, because he was getting minutes as soon as what's his name, Norman Powell. What I like to call him Norman Osborn. As soon as he got hurt on his shoulder the last game, he was getting the minutes. Now, his per 36 numbers is pretty poor, but what is not is the minutes. But for all the players that we spoke about earlier, you definitely want to take those players in consideration. And then another guy that sticks out in my mind, I think, is it Davis? Is it Terrence Davis?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. His name is, where is he? I was just looking at him actually. Terrence Davis, yep. Shooting guard.
Thank you.
Yeah, here he is.
Yeah, look at him. He's ready too. Like he could produce. He seriously, to be honest with you, he's an underrated cat. Toronto, man, they got some sneaky guys on that bench, and some of them just don't get the minutes because, as you know, LT, the tight rotation. But this is the ISO that I wanted to go to before I pass you the ball. Is how you had mentioned LT. I thought it was really important that you open up to the listeners when you first joined in the podcast, when you had mentioned the dynamics of teams. And I think that's really important because Toronto, as you had mentioned earlier in this season, like look at the minutes, like the bench was pretty much dry and the minutes was going to the starters. And, maybe they was running a tight 7 to 8 man rotation. And that was a concern by me. It's a good thing for us in fantasy, but on the inside, it was also a concern because of the potential of players getting injured. So, we were mentioning this on earlier episodes, like it's a good thing in fantasy, but you got to be careful with that two-edged sword because if you get all of those minutes, there's a potential opportunity for those players to get hurt. And look at the situation now. So maybe the coach might think a little bit different here now. But I'll pass you the ball back there if any more thoughts on this, man.
Yeah, no. So just to let the listeners know, just to be specific, we indefinite time frame for Siakam. Same thing with Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol, they've actually already said multiple weeks. So definitely Ibaka, if he's in shallower leagues, pick him up. Boucher as well. Starks his guy. Marc Gasol will be out, so there will be minutes at that center position available. And then also Norman Powell Norman Osborn, it doesn't look good. So we'll see. Fred VanVleet, also to the listeners, is questionable as well. So there's going to be a lot. Lowry's going to get all he can handle. OG, I know we didn't talk about OG here, but OG is going to get all that he can handle. So if you have any stock and any of these top guys on this squad, you're going to be grinning from ear to ear the next week or two. Hopefully they don't get hurt in the process. But yeah, like Stark said, I think there's a secret guy on here, Cameron Payne, that's on here.
He's a secret.
He's a secret.
He is a secret.
But with all these injuries, if Van Vliet doesn't play, he's a veteran now. I can't believe I'm saying that. I remember when he was a new guy coming out. He's pretty much a vet, so they may turn to him if need be, as far as added extra minutes. So he's a very deep lead ag if you're where the pain's at. But yeah, that's all I got, Starks. We can move on to the next little bit of information here, and that's with DeAndre Ayton. And he came back, had a pretty productive game, 12 rebounds, 18 points. Missed his only free throw, but looks like he's having some issues. Looks like he's questionable for the next game here. How do you feel? How do you feel a little, if you're an Ayton owner, how do you feel about this news coming out that he just got back and he's already maybe hurt?
This is a tough pill to swallow. For those owners that waited for him all this time and then he gets hurt. I'll say this, man. DeAndre Ayton, maybe I hope I'm wrong on this. Maybe the PEDs, it wore off, and maybe that's what he needed, right, to get him that boost. Yeah, that was a shot. There was no need for that shot. There's no need. There's no need for that.
Hey, that's
but
sweet.
I'll say it like. But no, as far as DeAndre Ayton, I'll be honest with you. I think he was a sell high, and it's like, well, how can you sell high on him? Just hear me out, listeners. Before the game that he came back, I think the perfect moment to sell him is before he actually played that last game. And the reason why I'm saying that was because everybody was so excited. Like, oh, man, he had 5 blocks that first game. They was juicing that orange on him hard. And they were like, oh, man, he's going to be like a second-round value or better. And I know in a lot of redraft leagues, he might have went around the end of the second round, middle of the third round. And to be honest with you, I thought he was worth more of a later third round. Dynasty formats, that's different. You're going to probably get him in the second round early. I get it. So in that sense, in a redraft and points league, I would have been all about selling him like hotcakes because that 5-block game is not something that he is. He's not who. That's definitely not who he is. But as far as him being out or potentially being out and questionable, it's a little concern. But honestly, if you were deploying Frank the Tank Kaminsky and Aaron Baines, this is odd. But we got to report while games are going on. David Nwaba, he's down with a non-contact injury. Hopefully he's okay. The non-contact injuries is never good in the NBA or just anything in life. So in sports, but I think he'll be okay. I'll pass you the ball. What's your thoughts on Ayton, man?
I don't got too much to say. This isn't good for Ayton because let's be honest, Suns have been okay without him, right? They've been okay without him. And this just gives the Suns a little bit more fire to say, hey, we don't know. We've been doing good without you. Maybe we don't need you. So that's one of those things where he could be used as a trading chip, coming up. I think they still want to, give him some time, but teams nowadays, they're ready to move so quick, get the next guy up, bring the next guy in, get those assets ready. So just keep an eye out on this situation. If he continues with the PEDs, if he continues with being injured, Aaron Baines looks ready. Frank the Tank, unfortunately, has been looking ready.
I don't think he's going to continue on the PEDs. I hope he doesn't.
Hey, man, once you pop, sometimes it's hard to stop, man. That's what I heard. So that's what I heard. So hopefully not, but I'll go ahead and move on to someone who probably needs PEDs, and that's Blake Griffin.
That ain't right.
What a segue, right? And we got Blake Griffin, who again is questionable to play, unfortunately, in the next couple of games, actually. And Starks, this is your favorite player in the NBA by far, so I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me what you feel about Blake Griffin, and he has to be a trade candidate at this point in the league in the season.
Oh man, my article speaks for itself on Blake Griffin, but I'll say this: I hope better days are to come for him. This is a tough situation because the regression is definitely there. It's unfortunate too because Christian would have been a nice cog in the offense with his absence, but unfortunately Christian Wood is out, I think, for the next game.
Yep.
So it's like, gosh, I was like, man, finally we're gonna finally get the wood, but we didn't get the wood. Now the wood is back in the fireplace, unfortunately. So as far as Blake Griffin is concerned, I can. It almost makes sense, like you said, LT, if he was to go to a different team in the NBA, just because it doesn't seem the right makeup in Detroit anymore. And I don't got too much to say to him or about him in particular. Like I said, I do hope better games for him in fantasy, and I'll pass you back. Well, real quick, I knew there was a listener that had asked about, I needed a big man, and I think we talked about this a little while ago. He was like, I needed a big man, and I'm willing to trade Rozier and graham crackers, either one. He's like, which one do I trade? I said, neither, man. I'm not.
None of them.
I was like, man. He showed. He was like, well, I need a big, and I was just like, I get it. Maybe there might be another big that you want to go after. Blake Griffin may not be the guy. And he was like, well, there's not too many people that I can get that were willing to take Rozier and Graham at the time. And I was like, are you sure? If that was the case, then you probably might have, if you had to pay a little bit more, you got to do it. But for Blake Griffin, I couldn't do it. The guy pulled the trigger anyway. And I do apologize that you did that, but I'll pass you the ball, man.
Oh no! Listen, listener. I know it seems like you need a certain position to take that next step, but Blake Griffin isn't playing big anymore. Even when he's on the court, he's playing like a point guard. He's basically giving you point guard stats. Russell Westbrook is a better big man than Blake Griffin right now. Because guess what? Russell Westbrook gets you points. He also gets you about 3 to 4 rebounds a game, right? He also gets you more assists, right? Okay. Westbrook's a better big man than Blake Griffin right now. Blake has to prove that he can play big, get you 8 to 10, 8, 9, 10 rebounds per game, and stick with the 3 to 4 assists, and stick with the 16 to 20 points. If he doesn't play big, he's not a big man. I'm sorry to tell you, listener. It's just he's not. That's not him anymore. It's sad. Listen, I love Blake. Blake's my guy. Okay, I like Blake. I like when he gets mad and he starts dunking on people. But it looks like he's not jumping that high, but he is. But it's weird. It's beautiful, but he's just not playing like a big man anymore. He's playing more like a 2 than a 4. That's all I got. Well, no, that's not all I got. I'm going to push over to another guy, G. Hay. G. Hay with a sore foot. Look at him. He's smiling. Nothing to smile about here, G. Hay. He got a sore foot. And he's another frustrating guy I'm pretty sure to own this year. He's been great. Look at those averages. Look, he's a better big man than Blake. Look at this. It's just 17. You should have traded for G. Hay. 17, 6, and 4. He's a better big man. Anyways, I digress. But G. Hay is unfortunately has a sore foot, so he's out of the lineup again. And Starks, I'm going to say something real quick. I'm happy. Okay, I'm happy. I'm not happy that G. Hay's injured. Don't get me wrong, but I'm happy of the injuries from G. Hay because it's sped along Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown's been getting. Look at this guy, 19.6 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists only, but that's okay. That's not his game. But he's grinning from ear to ear because with G. Hay being out, he's been able to get his pacing right. He started off the season super slow, but he has picked it up tremendously. And look at this. He had that's what I remember. This last game, 26 points, 1 block, 1 steal, 9 rebounds. You would think that's Blake Griffin's stat line. No, it's Jaylen Brown's. So it's crazy how much he's progressed with G. Hay not being in a lineup, having to pick up those extra minutes. Look at that. 34, 32, 34, 32, 34, 40, 35. He is workhousing. Thought Tom Thibodeau was over there in the Celtics for a second, Starks, the way that he's working Jaylen Brown. But no, he's ready. He's definitely a breakout candidate for where you picked him up at in your fantasy drafts. It's pretty much because G. Hay has taken some time off and they've called his number a little bit more. But I'll pass the rock over to you, Starks.
I'm so glad you actually brought him up because we don't really talk about him. And honestly, I don't talk about him at all. The only time I talk about him is when I think about Andrew Wiggins, because they were like the same player the last few years. But what's crazy is you mentioned in Jaylen Brown getting this nice boost. Let me talk about G. Hay real quick and then get to Jaylen Brown because I think it is important to talk about Brown here. G. Hay, he's going to be fine, when he comes back. Well, at least hopefully, because when he gets on the floor, he's giving you that nostalgia of G. Hay from Utah. So if you're getting that when he's on the court and you're getting that taste, that's a good thing to digest. But unfortunately, at least on the good upside of things, they tagged him as questionable. But then I don't know if that's a good sign because they were doing MRI checks on him. So let's hope there's better news for him. But going back to Jaylen Brown, I'm glad that you brought him up. And real quick, if there is a pickup, if G Hay's out, it's going to be still Brad Wanamaker and then Williams you can consider too. But as far as Jaylen Brown to be inside the top 50 this year, I never thought I would see that. He's like 47 in ADP value-wise right now in the 9-category league. That's outrageous. That's why I was saying, like, Andrew Wiggins, those two players are basically – and that's basically you take off Andrew Wiggins' mask, it's Jaylen Brown or vice versa. You know, that's how I felt like the last couple of years. And it's almost like they're still the same because look at what they're doing. They are potentially – their numbers are not the same, but what their ADP value-wise is almost identical, right?
Yep.
So the thing is, how much better can he get, right? So that is – I don't know how to really value him, but what I will say is his points has improved. His field goal percentage has improved. His free throw percentage has improved. You know, the rebounds. So all of these categorical stats, that's really good, especially in that Boston team that they need the help. And especially with G Hay being out, it's going to boost his value. And I think that was a good mention there, LT.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I was looking at some of these. Jaylen Brown is one of those guys that my sage eyes didn't catch, and I'm so mad at myself for not catching it. I thought the return of G Hay was going to, kind of keep him tempered. But Jaylen Brown, if you picked them up, that is such a good value pickup, man, this year for sure. But that's all we got here. That's all I got here as far as the injuries and recent news. I'll pass the rock over to you, Starks, to see if you have anything that you want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. So I'm just going to say this. It looks like Drew Holiday, the steam is starting to pick up on the trade rumors in particular about him. And, man, if he goes to a different team, I hope it is a contender so that way we don't have to worry and be concerned about the potential of load management with him, because it could happen if he stays in the Pelicans at their rate at this point in time. And I thought Pelicans would be a little bit better this year. Obviously, we know Zion Williamson's out, but for some reason, you would think with Brandon Ingram having this explosion year, you think they would have a little bit of a better record. And Lonzo Ball, I don't know. It's getting to a point that people are so frustrated with Lonzo Ball. I keep seeing listener in questions about, hey, do I drop Lonzo Ball or even no? Check out this. I don't know if I mentioned to you this, LT, but there was a trade offer in a Dynasty format, and it was hard. I had to actually think about it, and it was like, would you trade Lonzo Ball for Tyler Hero? I'm gonna pass you the ball in a Dynasty format. What side do you take?
Wow, man? In a Dynasty format?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. That's what we're here for, listeners. In my eyes, I'll take Hero.
Really?
Yeah.
I still take.
I think the right answer is Lonzo Ball. I don't particularly like Lonzo Ball, and I think that's the issue with in fantasy terms. I don't like his game. But I like Hero's game a lot better. And if I'm going to be stuck to a player for a long period of time, I would rather it be Tyler Hero.
And the thing is, I'll be honest, it seems like that would be the right answer to say Ball, but the question is it though? Like, oh my goodness.
That's a hard one right now. That's a hard one right now because Hero needs a couple of things to happen in order for in order for the dominoes to fall, right? He needs a couple of things to happen. Lonzo Ball has direct access to the starting position, their investment in him, unless if he just completely drives off the face of the earth. And they're not going to really, this year is kind of like a filler year. Zion's hurt. They're not expecting him to do anything this year anyway. So we're not going to know anything about Lonzo Ball's future really probably into next year when everyone's healthy and they feel like they can compete with another high round pick they're going to get this year. So I don't. Tyler Hero needs like a couple of things to happen for him to really jump off there, but I still would prefer just watching Hero become a hero in Miami than Lonzo Ball. I just.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say about that, it is actually, it should be easy to still say Ball in a Dynasty format, and I'll go with the safe, at least a safe answer, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hero would be, oh my goodness, maybe better. I don't know.
That's a hard question.
It's really hard.
That's a good one.
And it's a good one, and it's like it shouldn't be. Exactly, it shouldn't be hard. But that's how things can change on a diamond player. So I want to actually touch up on, let's see, Cat real quick. It seems like, I had mentioned I'd be surprised if he was to sit out one of these games, and he did here recently. You're Iron Man until essentially maybe you're not. But essentially, Minnesota, what are they playing for at this point in time? That's what you got to ask yourself. So, load management can still actually come his way now too, potentially. But as far as Cat, he was having some, from my understanding, he didn't practice here recently. So he's questionable for the next game. So who would be the pickup is Gorgie Jang. He did start the last game. So just keep that in mind. Gorgie. So, man, so we will go into, actually, we'll just touch up on one of the games that ended here, LT, if you want to jump into, what was that game that just happened for us? Well, if you want to jump into the Atlanta game and Utah game.
Yeah, definitely. Starks, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think the Timberwolves need?
Oh, man, they need a leader, man. And what I mean by that, and it's like Towns should be the leader. For some reason,
right?
It just doesn't.
Yeah,
they need a leader in a person. I really feel like they need a leader, and it's like I want to believe Towns is the guy. I mean, obviously he's going to do what he's supposed to do, but I don't think he really takes the leadership role. I don't know what's your thoughts, man.
That's why I was asking you, man, because it to me on paper, they're like the Timberwolves are on paper team, right? You look at them on paper and you're like, they got a roster, right? They got a roster. So it's like with that roster, they should be better than 10 and 16. I mean, that's just the way you look at the Blazers, right? It's the same thing with the Blazers. I feel with the Timberwolves. You look at that roster and you're like, they should be more than 500. For sure. Because don't they have covert ops?
Yeah, they do definitely have covert ops.
They got covert ops, Wiggins, Cat, Culver, Ice Cream, who's a young guy coming up. I feel like their roster is strong. I don't understand why they're not winning more games. They just lost to the Pelicans, Starks. And I know Cat wasn't playing, but still.
It's really tough now. Looking at a few things here, Minnesota is giving up a lot of points. And it's weird. They're giving up a lot of rebounds too, in particular. That doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen. And, a lot of teams are just easily scoring. They're blocking them easily. Turnovers is, they're stealing the ball. They're making them turn over the ball a lot. So, just getting some quick references off of that, I just don't think their heart is out there. And that's why I said that the leadership is not there, because if you have a leader, then they're going to take, control. Like, okay, for instance, remember when Jimmy Butler was there, although there was some, inconsistency from time to time, there was a leadership presence and they had a chance to do at least okay, right? And then at the same time, Wiggins is still, it's just finally, and it looks like David Navaba, he suffered, what was it? A torn right Achilles tendon. That's terrible, man. Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah. And just last thing I'll say about Minnesota in particular is, like you said, they got covert ops, Towns. You even got Teague. Teague, I mean, he's not the sexiest name, but he gets the job done, right? And then, oh my goodness. And the new coach that they have, they're orchestrating a faster paced offense, but it's just like, what is it really doing?
I just wanted to mention that because to me, the Timberwolves are a blow up candidate. Just keep that in mind, because Butler mentioned it right when he was there. He was like, these dudes, they don't got it. There was fights.
There it is.
They don't got it. Butler mentioned it, and everybody was like, "Oh, Butler, you're being ridiculous. You're being, you're being too hard. You're being too, fanatic." As far as he's like, "I just want to win," and he got out of there because it seems like they don't want to win. It's crazy. They're the way, man, their roster, they should be doing much better. But and they can say the same thing about my Blazers, because I agree. But I'll go ahead and switch over to two games here that are pretty much over, so we can look at them. We got Utah versus Atlanta. Rudy Gobert is your top fantasy producer tonight, followed up by a close second to Donovan Mitchell, who had a great game. Trae Young and Jabari Parker lead Atlanta in that retrospect. We have have in the Utah, I'm going to just probably touch up on one player here, and that's Joey Ingles. Joe Ingles had 5 for 10. He's starting again, people. Again, just want to keep mentioning that. Took 5 snipes, 7 rebounds, and had 2 swipes tonight. So he's starting again. So keep your eyes out on Joey Ingles. If you didn't hear our last podcast, if you're hearing this one, go run and get him if you have some dead space on the back of your benches. He is back starting and putting up 36 minutes. So, Starks, I'm going to switch it over to you because I know one of your guys played in this game.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, a guy that's been frustrating for me in particular. I thought this was the year that he had a better season versus last year, but he's starting to pick up a little bit. But this is a good game by him. Very efficient, 12 for 22. Snipe, hit all of his charity stripes, got you the rebounds, assists, and he scored 30 points with some decent stats behind it. So you would think with Conley being out, and man, and real quick, Utah, just to jump on the NBA side, you expected them, and they're second right now, so it's not to bash them, but we kind of had the impression, and I thought it was funny, Charles Barkley, just get on this ISO rant. We all know that what Charles Barkley is, he's more people, make fun of him and stuff, and he says a lot of crazy stuff in the NBA, like certain teams are not good, but they're actually good. But one thing I will say that he was truthful on this season in the NBA, and it's obviously still early, is there's 10 teams, at least we had the impression of 10 teams being potential championship caliber teams, right? If you really look at it right now, it's only potentially 3 teams that you can even mention that. With the Lakers, you got the Bucks, maybe with the Clippers.
Clippers, yeah.
Right. And then it's
Nuggets, I think are decent. I know, yeah.
Right. And then, and then the Rockets is just but and then, we could talk about the Sixers, but they're not really looking strong. And they, unfortunately, your team is not looking strong like we thought they would too. So, there's a lot of teams that is kind of looking disappointing this season. But to get off of that real quick, it looks like Emmanuel Mudiay, he got some minutes there, but, I'll leave it there. Hopefully, no, Tony Bradley is going to still continue to get DNPC for the time being, but dynasty formats, that you just got to have them for the long term. But Gobert definitely did good, and I'll pass you back the ball there going on side of Lena.
Yeah, just to mention, Starks, I know I just want to make sure we're doing the due diligence here. Donovan Mitchell did look to start instead for Conley this game. So It looks like Joe Ingles is going to slide over to that 2 spot, and Donovan Mitchell is running the point. So just wanted to let the listeners know that. So it looks like, Tony Bradley, usually you would think he would move up a little bit for timing, but they instead just slotted Donovan over to the point guard slot and kept their rotations pretty tight. So just as far as people looking for, Mike Conley pickups, unfortunately, Mudiay is your guy, and that's about it. Moving over to Atlanta, Trae Young, trigger Trae tonight, and 28 shots he jacked up, 3 for 11 snipes. He was just shooting it. 8 assists though. He always finds a way to get assists still with all those shot attempts. 1 steal and 30 points. So he was the main guy here. Anybody else on this? Oh, I know there's one guy on here that sticks out to you, Starks, as far as you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you talk about him on the bench, but I want to actually talk about one of the reports that came out is, from my understanding, the coach is in a hot seat because of how bad Atlanta is doing so far this year.
Come on.
And with the center, they actually started Bruno Fernando, and that is actually good. He's a dynasty guy, potentially. He's still wet behind the ears, but if you're going to have him and deploy him, they're trying to force the minutes to him, hopefully. Well, I wouldn't say force the minutes, that he got the start. But Kevin Huerter, he's continuing to get the minutes. Mm-hmm. That's definitely a beautiful sight to see with the 17 points. Got you a steal, 2 assists as well. DeAndre Hunter, he had a quick 2 fouls, I believe, in the first minute of the first quarter, which was crazy. Cam Reddish started. As far as the bench goes, I'll pass you the ball because I know there's a guy you want to talk about there.
It's the Parkers. Hey, mama. Yeah, it's Jabari Parker, and 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 23 points. This guy just continues continues to be a great fantasy streamer and pickup throughout this year. He is, if I were to make a, early season pickup that, just has been killing it, it's Jabari Parker. One of the people on there will be Jabari Parker. We talked about it, when certain people come back, he'll lose his value, but he's still putting up 23 to 25 minutes per night. So you love to see it, and he's still producing. And then I wanted to touch up real quick on Kevin Huerter. Looks like they did break off his time. So remember, he was getting about 23 to 25 minutes per game. He did reach 32 minutes tonight. And I know a lot of people probably laughed at me about my comparison to Kevin Huerter and Lauri Markkanen. But now that Kevin Huerter's minutes,
still laughing.
I know you are. But now that Kevin Huerter's, my sage eyes have seen Kevin Huerter play. Now that his minutes are up, listen, look out. Okay, and I just want to touch up real quick before we move on. What did they think Atlanta was going to do this year, Starks? Why is the coach on the hot seat? Like, John Collins has been hurt. They have like 4 rookies and 2 sophomores on their starting lineup. He just started Bruno Fernando for the first time all year tonight. What did they expect them to do this year?
Hey man, they were juicing out orange that they're going to have the high, fast-paced offense, and they were juicing hard on that orange that, what is it? Not John Collins. John Collins and Trae Young was going to get 35-plus minutes a game. So that was going to be the instant wins, right? That's what they thought.
John Collins has been hurt. That's not the coach. Anyways, it's just funny to me that the coach is on the hot seat, everyone but the team knew that they were going to be terrible this year. Like, everyone knew it but them. It just floors me every time. But anyways, we're going to touch up on this game, if not for fantasy as well, but also this is a potential finals matchup, isn't it, Starks?
It is.
We got the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis, I know he came out to play tonight. Your top fantasy producer, as usual, tonight, putting up some insane stats. And someone outdid him on the Lakers, and that's Anthony Davis. They went head-to-head tonight with, my goodness, some of these point totals are absolutely ridiculous. And we're going to scroll over here. Anthony Davis didn't hit any threes tonight, was inefficient, but who cares? 10 rebounds, 1 steal, 3 blocks, 36 points, killed it tonight. LeBron somehow didn't meet his predicted points total, but still had a triple-double. He had a great game as well, so you love to see it. Danny boy, where are you? He had a great game too, 21 points, 7 for 12 snipes. And how did they lose? How did they lose? I got to see this Milwaukee side.
I'm gonna tell you how they lost real quick, and I'll pass you back the ball.
Yeah,
your boy Greek Freak, man. I was watching some of that game. He was hitting threes for no reason. But I'll pass you back the ball. Yeah, he was nailing threes. I'm
gonna see it here soon. So, and looks like their bench did not come to play. The Lakers bench. Look at this rotation, by the way. I want the listeners to look at this. Lakers. I know we don't talk about the Lakers because they play so late. We usually don't get to talk about them, but their rotation is super one-sided. It's another short rotation team. And look at this, 17. Look at the point totals, production. This team does not. Yeah, they're all top heavy. So you love to see it as far as fantasy. And then we're going to move over to it is a two-edged sword. I didn't think you have anybody you want to talk about. Nah. I figured it's the Lakers. Everyone's like 5 years into the league. All right. Then Milwaukee, we're going to switch over to Milwaukee. And oh my gosh, I see what happened here. We got a bench performer. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, you do. Yeah, we do.
Oh, it's the Curious George himself coming out. He's got the yellow, the guy. What's that guy in the yellow raincoat? The yellow.
I don't know.
From the book.
He's just with the hat.
No, from the book with the hat. Anyways.
Yeah.
7 for 12, 3 snipes, 4 for 4 from the charity, 21 points from Curious George tonight.
Ooh.
Outscored the Lakers' whole bench. Oh my gosh, what a man. Starks, I'm gonna pass the rock over to you, man. Wow. I can't believe it.
yeah. Hey man, you do something.
I'm really upset right now. I'm very upset because I don't like Curious George doing this is like, hey, White Knight called it. He had him in his streaming pickups this week, and hey.
I was all about Curious George's life all this year, man.
Shut
But
up.
hey man, it's unfortunate. Like I said, when it comes to us in fantasy, me, LT, and the White Knight, we like to enjoy fantasy in a lot of different ways, especially picking up players that could just give you some lucky stats from time to time. And sometimes they actually become fantasy relevant players. And it comes on the heels of Curious George Hill. Just like you said, I won't juice some orange anymore, but that's not a game that's a game you cannot ignore from him. Obviously, still comes on the heels of Eric Bledsoe being out. And I think it was some type of knee injury. I think he had a procedure done to his knee. And for him to only be out supposedly 2 weeks, I don't know if I can believe that, but that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But we can expect George Hill to continue to do well. And Dante DiVincenzo, although he didn't have the best of game, that guy does well on the court. He is a strong role player. So I know a lot of people were like, well, dang, you got rid of, I wouldn't say you got rid of him, but you didn't hold on to Malcolm Brogdon in the middle. But Dante DiVincenzo and George Hill has done well in the absence of him, right? So Milwaukee is going to be a tough team. They're going to be a tough out for real. And the Lakers were losing by 20 points at one point in the moment, but it was good for the Lakers to still kind of come back. So if this is a potential finals, it's going to be a beauty, man. That's all I got.
Yeah, these are definitely the top 2 teams in the league for sure. Not even, I mean, it is close with the Clippers, but yeah, these are the top 2 teams for sure. But yeah, also just wanted to mention Brook Lopez, 4 steals, 3 blocks tonight. So just look at those stock stats. Those are crazy, but that's all we got for tonight. I'll touch up real quick on this Brooklyn San Antonio Spurs. I won't talk too much about it, but it looks like Dinwiddie, White Knight would be proud. 39 points from Dinwiddie tonight, 14 for 28. 4 for 10, 7-7, doing his best Kyrie Irving impression while he's out of the lineup.
Sheesh.
And one of your guys, Jared Allen, he's had a good game too. Again, cheat codes. We told you about this cheat code already. So but Jared Allen is a potential buy candidate if you can. But that window pretty much shut right now, unfortunately. But still try if you can to get him, buy him at whatever cost. Well, not whatever cost, but see if you can get a little piece of him if you need a big man. I know I tried and failed multiple times in multiple leagues. So that's one thing. But I'll go ahead and just touch up on the Spurs side. DeMar DeRozan doing DeMar DeRozan things. LaMarcus Aldridge also doing LaMarcus Aldridge things. Nothing spicy. He has 4 blocks tonight, I will add. So that's good to see. The Dej Loaf, or should I say Murray's Pomade? Oh, I'm sorry. DeJounte Murray is actually starting and had 26 minutes tonight. So keep an eye out on that. But Panty Mayonnaise, do you see those stats, Starks, on Panty Mayonnaise? 25 minutes, 27 points. If you went ahead and picked him up as far as a streamer this week, you are grinning from ear to ear with this line for sure. But that's all I got, Starks. Is there anything on Spurs or Nets you wanted to talk about?
No, you covered it. I was just going to say last thing is Lonnie Walker. He's man. I was hoping he was get the minutes, but it's going to be a wild dynasty head. So that's where we're at. So we'll go ahead and get to the clutch shots.
Yep.
And one of my clutch shots that I'll take is going to be potentially just a dynasty guy. But real quick, before I do that, the commercial break real quick is make sure you guys go into newlifefantasy.com, join the mailing list. Join as a member on the website. Check out our forum. We're going to be running a listener league. Let us know what type of league that you guys want to do in that listener league. Make sure you sub-zero that subscribe button on YouTube channel. Hit the bell as dinner time. Comment below. Make sure you guys give us a thumbs up. It helps us out to continue to grow this brand. We don't just do fantasy basketball. We do baseball and football. We're going to be getting an article. The first article is going to be dropped in baseball here Monday, so be on the lookout for that. We got more articles is coming up. The Dynasty Fighter, I will be having that next year to New Year's, at least New Year's week or maybe the week after. So be on the lookout for that. Again, check out Jacob's new article that he wrote about your early Christmas special that he put together for you guys, in particular for the comeback players that you guys need to check out. So, it's getting it's picking up some steam there in the view. So, definitely help us out just, reading it. And make sure you guys subscribe to the Take a Ride podcast. So the Dynasty player that I'll talk about a little bit here that I think we all essentially. I think LT, you might have been different. I think you were no, actually LT, you were. I think you were right on this. I think me and Jacob was wrong on a player's Fred Flintstone Van Vliet. I was just like, I don't know if this guy is sustainable. It was like the first game of the season. So what I did a little bit more deeper research, and what I realized about Fred Flintstone Van Vliet, obviously in a dynasty format, there's the potential there. We knew about Kawhi Leonard leaving. I get it, all of that, special sauce, right? Mm-hmm. But it was just more about this year of how sustainable he would be. One thing that stuck out to me was his steal rate, because I was like, man, this is not sustainable. You guys know I put a premium on steals. So in that sense, I was like, nah, I don't believe in that sense. So what really stuck out to me is, again, the 2 steals that he's having this season, and we have a legend coming in as a guest today as well. So as far as Fred VanVleet goes, I will say this: the 2 steals that was really juicing his value. Do I think it's sustainable? I wouldn't say sustainable, but what I do believe is the steal rate that he did in college was realistic. He was getting the 1.5 steals a game. And before, I was like, nah, in the NBA, he wasn't really doing that. So that's why I was a little concerned, because he never averages steal in the NBA, I believe, right? But in college, when he was averaging the steal and a half, that's what changed his value. And I didn't realize that. So then that made me kind of think, because he's putting up top 20-ish better numbers this season. Now, do I think there's going to be a small regression? Yeah, I think there's going to be an absolute small regression, because we got Kyle Lowry back, but maybe not now, right? Because all these injuries in Toronto, so they're going to need to use him. The points we expected to go up, the assists, his field goal percentage is down too. So I think, and realistically, I think he's more of a guy of a top 35 player-ish this year. But if he finishes inside the top 25, that's great. Do I think he can finish inside the top 25? At this point, yeah, I can believe it. But I don't know. But I don't think the regression is going to be as hard as I thought it would be, because I had envisioned him as a top 60 to 75 player. I think he smashes that this season. Any thoughts there, LT?
Yeah, man. Van Vliet specifically, as you know, I've liked Van Vliet for a while now, and he's just sneaky, man. He's sneaky. I didn't understand his fantasy value. I liked him as a player, but I didn't understand his fantasy value as I didn't understand it at first, and then I started looking at his stats. I think me and you talked about a steal category, and I started looking up. I was like, man, this guy is up in the top 5 at the time in steals. This guy is a monster right now. 36 minutes averaging this year. 36 minutes and 39. So he has so many minutes. There's so much production there. And now with all these injuries, if he can stay healthy, if he can beat this questionable tag and stay healthy, my goodness, man, you're looking at something beautiful with Van Vliet moving forward. And I love what he's gonna do. And I like him as a dynasty a dandy going forward as well. Undrafted. Love to see it, man. But that's all I got for Van Vliet. I'll send it over to you, man.
Yeah, last thing. So on the 3 to 4 year dynasty format, I think he can hover around the range of a 35 player. It's still kind of tough to value him, but I think the 35 range. And if there's anything, I'm not really good with NBA comparisons, but he has the same person. If you take, like, let's say you take off. Actually, if you take Kyle Lowry's mask off, it's a baby Fred VanVleet. That's the type of guy he is. And he's on the same team. So these are some good numbers that he's doing. So for those that drafted him, you basically cut a massive coupon. So congratulations to those GMs. And I can understand there's someone in a dynasty format that got him in the 80s, so he's kicking butt in that league. And honestly, I think he was ranking the ADP wise in Yahoo. I could be wrong. I think he was like 110. So whoever drafted him, you drafted him late and you cut coupon. So congratulations to you guys. So that's all I have. I'll pass you the ball for the clutch shot there, LT, if you have one.
I don't really have a clutch shot. Everybody, if I don't speak to people, if I don't speak to anybody recent or until early Christmas, Merry Christmas to all our listeners. I appreciate all you guys looking, YouTube, hard work we're putting in on future endeavors. as well as adding different things to the website for y'all so that y'all have the most information available for your fantasy leagues. I'll go ahead and add my information in with my clutch shot. So you can reach me at Twitter, on Twitter at Sage Network X. You can also reach me on Instagram at _Sage Network _ as well. Send me questions, send me holiday cheer, whatever you would like to. No problems here. And that's all, man. Just God bless, and I will speak to you listeners here shortly.
All right, guys, you can find me on my Twitter handle. It's at Starks_industry. You can also find me on Instagram, One Closing Hero. I'm more active on Twitter, so if you guys want to, ask me a question, feel free to, and I'll get to you guys at a prompt time. And that's it. I was just gonna say, God bless you guys. Love you too. I will do a couple more episodes before this week, so just be on the lookout for that. With that being said, you guys have a good evening, morning, afternoon, and take a ride.